That language enables you to be the consultant, but it also offloads that transactional relationship that comes with you asking someone what their budget is and them thinking that if they tell you $3,000, that you're going to send them a $3,000 quote. So if you want to ask someone for their budget, I want to give you guys some tips, all right? So let's say you render services like you build websites or you do digital marketing, you do consulting, coaching, stuff like that. And sometimes you want to scope things out, but you want to scope it accurately, right? Like you know that you have a huge range of opportunity to work with someone, but you want to make sure that you don't lose an opportunity to work with them because they just didn't allocate enough for that project, right? So, but at the same time, you also have the ability to get creative with regards to what the pricing is, okay? And notice my language, getting creative with working within what someone allocated for a project, all right? I'm not saying like, oh, well, if your budget's higher, then I'm just gonna charge you more. No, I'm able to get creative with how this project is framed. So let's start by talking about posture, right? So when you're entering into a conversation with someone about a particular project, it's always good to be seen as the consultant, all right? Always good to be seen as the consultant. When you're seen as the consultant, you're able to make statements and not always ask questions. So, and these statements are based off of your experience. So when you're getting to the budget conversation, you should have had enough of a fluid conversation with them to one, identify what their project, what the value of their project is. Like, is it a project worth doing for them? And two, you should also be at the point where you'd be ready to say, hey, you know what? You want to get to the what's the budget question, right? So I typically never just ask what's the budget. What I normally do is I understand that there's other things around the project that I'm going to be working through. I will ask a question such as, so I know what other companies have allocated towards a project of this magnitude. I would like to know, what have you allocated towards these particular efforts, right? Again, I've indicated I know what others have allocated. That makes sense. I would like to know what you have allocated, okay? Another way of asking it too is, like I mentioned, that there are other things around what you do. Another way of asking is, like, let's say you're doing a project in web design, right? You can ask the question, so, what have you allocated towards your marketing, sales, and advertising budget? Now, web design is a part of that, but what's your overall allocation towards those type of efforts? What that does is, if someone says, well, I don't have a budget, again, that puts you in a consultative position. So if I ask, well, total, like, what have you allocated towards this? That gives me a lot of flexibility to be able to have a discussion around what somebody or what they should allocate. Now, if I'm helping you with budgeting, that enables me to write what I need to into your particular budget. Again, because I am the consultant. So somebody says, oh, well, I don't really know. So, like, what do you think it's going to cost? You don't have to say, oh, these efforts are going to be $2,000 or these efforts are going to be $5,000. The way that you say it is, well, companies like yours who are looking to get the results that you're expecting, they typically allocate $3,000 to $4,000 towards these particular types of efforts. What I can do, I can get creative to be as close as possible to the lower end of that range. Maybe I could even get as creative as possible to get below that. But that's what other companies, other entrepreneurs have allocated. You hear that language? That language isn't, this is how much I'm charging you, or this is what the fee is. The language is, other companies that know what they're doing and are expecting exactly what you expect from these efforts, they have allocated this towards efforts like this. That language enables you to be the consultant, but it also offloads that transactional relationship that comes with you asking someone what their budget is and them thinking that if they tell you $3,000, that you're gonna send them a $3,000 quote. I've had a number of discussions this week because I put out an RFP to get someone to help me with content, and And you know, everybody's been asking me, oh well, you know, what's your budget? What's your budget? What's your budget? Everything depends on what your budget is. And a few people, I definitely commend them. They said, I would think that you should have this amount allocated. You know, you should have $2,500 a month towards some type of content development efforts. You have a lot of content, you have this, you have that. I would allocate about $2,500. I respect them for giving me that number, because it wasn't, oh, I'm gonna charge you $2,500. It is, I think that that's how much you should have allocated towards it. So again, this whole talk was all about, you know, asking a budget question. If you have any questions about this, hit me up. This is what I do. I do sales training. So if you're interested in learning more about how to close more and increase and build your reach and your revenue, hit me up.